What's up, guys? We are back with another Bandai Tamashii Nations review, and we're taking a look today at what is probably one of my most, I guess, interested figures when it comes to this year's releases so far, just because of what it is and the scale at which we're getting this toy. We are taking a look at the Evangelion DYNACTION figure. So this is a new line for Bandai Tamashii Nations. It is a mega scale figure. So we're talking 16, 17 inches tall. It's humongous. It's its own thing, so it doesn't really scale with anything else specifically, but at the same time, it doesn't need to. This thing is pretty wild, and so far has seemed to be just the thing to get if you're an Evangelion fan. So we're gonna find out. It comes in, well, a humongous box. It obviously has to be big enough to fit this figure, but you've got this huge menacing shot of Unit 01 here on the front, and then the side panel has got another shot in red and black, and then the back of the box has got, in typical Bandai Tamashii Nations fashion, you've got a ton of product shots showcasing how it moves, what it can do, as well as all the accessories that it comes with. And then, of course, it's also got an opening flap on the inside that showcases all of the construction and kind of the engineering for this thing as well, which is kind of an added little bonus if, for whatever crazy reason, you wanted to keep this thing in the box. But we're not here to do that, so let's pull it out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package. So we're obviously going to do something a little bit different, a little bit out of the norm for the channel. And in order to, I think, fully showcase this thing, I need to do it on camera because, well, it's humongous. So it's not easy to film in the first place. And then you can get a better sense of just how well this thing moves around if I'm not trying to reach around a camera as well. So we're going to do this face to face. I think that at first glance, anybody that gets their hands on this thing is going to be thoroughly surprised at just how well this thing can move. If you caught my recent Robot Spirits review of the EVA Unit 1, you kind of already have an idea of what to expect here because they are essentially, in many respects, the same kind of figure. This DYNACTION figure is just humongous by comparison. It does also, I think, have a slight edge when it comes to articulation in a few areas, not anything too crazy or groundbreaking, but I think it does help with some quality of life improvements when it comes to moving this big thing around. So as far as articulation goes, it is super, super articulated, and I can't stress that enough. I can't put it down. I am constantly finding new ways to pose this thing around. It is just a lot of fun. So as far as the head, you can get it to go all the way down. So it has a independently articulated neck as well. And the neck, I mean, it has a great range of motion on it to begin with. So it goes all the way up and down. You've got your tilt side to side, full range of motion there. And then, of course, you've got your head swivel. What's really cool about this one in comparison to the Robot Spirits is that the jaw, while it also hinges here, you get to see the teeth move independently. So it's like a double hinge kind of thing. There's a jaw movement and the teeth move slightly differently. They're on a delay almost. You move one and then the other one will follow it, which I think is really cool. The arms go all the way out, and I mean, more than you generally would expect to get. You've got full rotation at the shoulder, and then you've also got a butterfly joint in there. We've got it's a sort of a single jointed elbow, but it's really kind of like a double at the same time in terms of how the range works. And then you've got rotation at the elbow. We've got ball hinges and rotation at the wrist as well. So all pretty standard stuff when it comes to Robot Spirit style figures or figure arts kind of stuff. The chest plates are hinged as well, so you can pull those back just like on the Robot Spirits. The ab crunch and the torso articulation on this thing is beyond choice though. So as far as twist, you can twist at the top. So like right under the pecs, right here, you can twist right there. So it'll move side to side. And then it also twists here at the first sort of, I don't know, armor chink right there, where it sort of cuts in. So you can twist here a little bit. You can also twist down here at the waist. So you can get it to twist like this far over. So it moves side to side really well. As far as moving actual, you know, hinge side to side, it tilts really, really well. So you can get it to go all the way over. It goes backwards really good. Probably, again, more than you might need. But when you hinge forward, it hinges in multiple places, so you can get it to hinge over, I mean, it's looking at the ground right now. It moves so fluidly. I love everything about this chest and torso situation. The legs, I think, are a little bit improved from the Robot Spirits in that I keep comparing the two. The actual leg will tuck into the crotch area a little bit better. So it will sort of get a better split. It's not perfect. This is the one area where I think it suffers a little bit just because of design, because it's got these huge sort of peaks on the legs. You've got really good thigh cut here. So of course twist all the way around. And then it's almost got like a two-stage leg movement. So it moves inside of a frame almost right here. So the leg itself isn't moving, but the exoskeleton is moving when I do that, which is really cool. The leg can swivel all the way around, so you can get it to kick, I mean, super far up. And then it will also kick super far backwards as well if you need it to. If you're ever going to need it to do that, get it into some crazy running or lunging pose. You've got double jointed knees, so they go all the way back. And then the knee pad will also move to, again, cover some of that joint work there. And then you've got your ankles down here, which have a really, really good rocker. So full rocker side to side. They hinge backwards, they hinge forwards, and you've got the green armor piece here that will cover that. And then you've also got toe articulation, which, just like the Robot Spirits, I normally don't care about that, but this thing is so well articulated with such tight joint work, because it has die cast built into the figure as well, that it can pose on its toes. And I've posted a number of pictures on social media about this. I can't get over how cool it is to get this thing squatted down, just resting on its toes. The construction, the articulation, everything about how this thing is built and moves is just something else. It is so much fun to play around with, and I cannot stress how well designed this toy is. It is so much fun to play with, and it's going to do, I mean, essentially everything that you want a 1.5 foot tall Evangelion to do. Now, as far as the overall look and feel here, this is another instance where if you saw my Robot Spirits review, you kind of know what to expect here. That's a good thing though, because that figure is fantastic. It's a great example of what the Robot Spirits line is. This thing is that figure, just with a little bit more. It does have more paint on it. It does have a little bit more detailing, but at the same time, it's still very much that same figure. It's a lot of molded plastic, and this thing does have die cast as well, which I think enhances the overall presentation, and it just makes it seem a little bit more premium. So some of the things that it has, it has like the actual Ava test unit wording and sort of verbiage that's on the arm here. That's something that's a little different. The color scheme is slightly different. This unit is a little bit darker in terms of the purples on it, but it looks really, really good. So, you've got the purple and the green with the slight hints of orange here and there, and then the black to kind of fill in the voided space on the unit. The metallic sheen on these little red pieces looks really good, and overall it's just proportioned really well, and it so very much looks like what it's supposed to. And that's kind of a stupid thing to have to say, but it looks like the show, it looks like the movies, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's one thing for this massive, massive figure to also move really well, but in conjunction with it looking so good, it's really just the best of both worlds. It's a humongous, nice-looking, good-moving action figure, and there's really not anything to complain about here. Proportions on it are really sleek and very futuristic, of course. It has that sort of gaping maw when you open the mouth in there, which makes it look even more menacing and just sort of nasty. The gold in those eyes really shines. I think it makes it pop against the black and the purple of the head itself. The pylons, really nicely done to have a nice gloss on the green there, just to make everything sort of pop and stand out. And it's cool. This thing oozes a nice cool factor that you're not going to get with just about any other toy you're buying right now. And I know, like, I'm singing the praises of this thing a little too much, but I gotta tell you, if you have this in hand, you're gonna understand why I'm so over the moon with this thing. And then even further down, there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to the feet, but it looks great. These are nice, very, very sturdy, massive legs. The orange on those pylons on the knees look really good. The actual boot covers down here on the feet are super glossy and shiny, and everything just sort of works. Everything from the ground up forms this really cool looking action figure, which doesn't need a lot of paint applications, but where it has them, they pop, they look good, and all the molded plastic is really well implemented. All of the die cast parts, what there's not tons, but there is a good bit, is really well implemented. It helps keep the figure nice and sturdy. It gives it, again, a more premium feel. And look at that face, look at the greens and the purples, everything pops. And when you get this thing next to something else of comparable size, or better yet, something that's incredibly small by comparison to make this thing look even bigger, you're going to see just how imposing and menacing this thing is on your shelf. Now, as far as accessories goes, just like the Robot Spirits, this thing has a pretty solid array, but a very similar array of accessories. It is very much the same kind of stuff, but it's changed up where it can be to be maybe a little bit more premium or just be a little bit more functional for something that is, again, so absolutely massive. So to start with, we've got the cord, the umbilical cord that can plug into the back of the unit. So you've got that there, and then you've got this absolutely enormous cable and plug. So it's kind of a bendy wire. It's not super bendy, but it will hold shape pretty well. And then this will peg into the stand that's included if you want to use it. And we'll talk about the stand here in a minute. It's got the different pylon for the progressive knife. So the Robot Spirits one has a separate pylon that you pop out, and it has the knife permanently in place. This one is a little bit different. So not only does it have the empty pylon, you get, of course, the knife, and we've got the knife here, and it is big. It's got good sculpt on it, good paint work, but it moves. So you can fold it over, and then this time around, you actually will peg it in and lock it into place on the pylon itself rather than it being like a separate thing. So you can actually utilize that. So you put the pylon on, it's just a ball peg, and then put the knife in, and then you can have the Ava unit actually pull it out, which I think is really cool. It's a little bit more premium again. It's a little bit more useful and easier to do for something that is this size. We do get the Pallet Rifle for the unit this time around, and it's the same kind of sculpt that we saw with the Robot Spirits, but it has a little bit more detailing and a little bit more paint work, I think, as well. This thing is also equally massive, and you do get hands to support this. So we've got open palm hands, kind of just normal relaxed hands on the Ava in the box. You get 4 extra sets. I'm only going to show you one hand each. So you get a, this could be like a running pose hand or like a chopping hand. You get a open palm style pose hand, so it's kind of like a pushing or grappling type of hand. You get trigger finger hands, and then of course you get a set of fists. So you get 10 total hands with this Ava unit. And then last but not least, when it comes to actual accessories, before we talk about this stand, you get the tiniest little Shinji Ikari that has ever graced your shelf. And I am totally surprised that I have not lost this thing already. But we made it this far, so we'll see if it gets absorbed into the carpet before I finish this review. So you've got this little, I imagine, 2-scale Shinji Ikari if you choose to run the risk and put him on your shelf. So this thing does have a lot of cool accessories. I don't really think we're missing anything. You know, it doesn't come with an AT field like the Robot Spirits does, but I never use that anyway. The umbilical cord seems a little bit nicer here. The knife seems a little bit nicer. I like the implementation of the pylon and the knife as 2 separate things rather than 1 extra thing. And then of course you get the gun and all the hands as well. So there's a lot of stuff in this box. And then of course there's an even larger stand to talk about. This thing deserves its own little spotlight. Because I'm not joking when I say that this thing is absolutely massive. It's a huge premium style stand, and despite how well balanced and easy to pose the Ava is, I'm not upset that they decided to throw this in here, because undoubtedly you want a little insurance when it comes to posing this thing on your shelf. So let's talk about the actual base first, because there's a lot of stuff here actually, surprisingly so. So we've got this big massive base, which of course is emblazoned with all sorts of nerve stuff. It's got the Ava unit names all over it. You've got ports on the back and the middle to begin with where you plug the actual stand in, but these 2 pieces here can actually come apart, and you can pop this guy out, and then you've got more room over here to put more, to put the other stand in when you want to actually make it bigger or make it just in a different position. So you've got options when it comes to how you want to move this around. It is a modular stand in many ways. So you do have options because the arm does actually move and it grows, and you can elongate it and you can make it wider and the whole 9 yards really. So here it is, and you've got, I'm not going to put it together right now because it's kind of a pain to actually take apart. So you've got this part here that acts as the base, which plugs into the back. And then you've got this one here, which would plug into the middle. This piece actually will move. So it will go, when you move this sort of lever, it'll go up and down, and you can do that. The bottom will hinge, this bottom will hinge as well, so you can make it wider, you can make it narrower, things of that nature. And then you can also, of course, make it taller. So let's sort of pan up here, and you can unlock it at the top. So there's a lock here. Unlock it, and it grows quite a bit. I mean, it's absolutely massive. There's a lot of potential when it comes to this thing. So you've got, of course, an arm at the top, and then you've got a claw up there. So this thing is, I mean, super premium. It's really well done. It, of course, very much fits in with the Ava Nerve aesthetic, and it's really cool. It's going to take up a lot of shelf space. The footprint on this thing is much bigger than the figure itself, but at the same time, it's going to help when it comes to posing. Just sort of set it and forget it. And honestly, it looks kind of cool too. So it is utilitarian, but it looks cool in the same way. Of course, for something like this, we have to do some size comparisons in what is likely going to be the weirder of my size comparison segments that I do, because you're just looking at a big robot crotch here. But we've got the Robot Spirits Ava Unit 1 with our Dynaction Ava Unit 1. And I mean, well, there it is. It's humongous. It's absolutely massive by comparison. So you get an idea of what a normal-ish figure looks like with it. But of course, we'll do some other stuff just because. So here is a Gundam fixed figuration, metal composite Zaku. It's like an 8-ish inch figure, so you get an idea of what a slightly larger, also Bandai-made figure looks like. Here is the latest Wolverine from the House of X line, as far as Marvel Legends go. So there's a 6-ish inch figure. We all know Logan is a tad on the short side. Here is a slightly larger figure with the recent deluxe Thanos. You see that even he does not measure up in any meaningful capacity. And then for something slightly smaller, here is a Plunderling. So here is one of the fawns. This is Grotto. And then for something even smaller, how about Baby Yoda? Little Grogu action. And then because it has to be done, here is that little tiny Shinji that comes in the accessories. So this thing is absolutely massive. It is humongous. It doesn't exactly scale with a lot of stuff, but you can certainly work it into a lot of displays. It's hulking, it's menacing, and it will work as a big, monstrous, robotic type character in any kind of display or photography that you're doing. And of course, alongside any other larger figures as well, like your, maybe some Megazords or some quarter scale stuff like from NECA, things like that, maybe with some of the larger recent Voltron combiners within recent years, things like that. It will work pretty well alongside some of those bigger figures. So yeah, buy it. I mean, that's basically what it's going to come down to. If you like Evangelion and you're interested in a larger format figure, I really don't know what else you'd want to buy except for this thing. And I'm a big, huge fan of Bandai Tamashii Nation stuff. I love Robot Spirits line. This thing seems like the larger next progression for that line, because it really is that Robot Spirits figure scaled up. The accessories are really similar. The sculpt is really similar. There are a few changes just to make this thing scale appropriately, and I do think that they fixed a little bit of the articulation of the hips with this guy as well. But it's an awesome, awesome figure. And I'm not joking when I'm saying that I cannot put this thing down. It has been with me all over the house. I have played with it nonstop since I got it. I mean, as soon as I got it, I ripped it right out of the box because I have so been just chomping at the bit to see this thing. And it absolutely did not disappoint. It is easily one of the most fun toys that I have played with this year for sure. And it is definitely something that you should be getting if you are interested in a larger format Evangelion, and I cannot wait for Unit 2 to come out. So that's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii Nation's Dynaction Ava Unit 1. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.